name's Ryan, I'm an alcoholic. Just trying to think, I haven't planned this or anything. I'm still today a very, very fearful person, so I've got all these fears of doing this. I did this about 3 weeks ago and it was very scary, but it was also a very, very rewarding experience. I think of the past couple of days I've been reflecting over this year and how life is different today. And I think the biggest thing for me is that I have the choice of not wanting to go back to that life. And I think that's the biggest thing for me is that I don't actually want to go back to that life. You know, I've seen other people that do during this year, and for me that's treatment and everything that I went through was enough for me to have that choice today. I suppose I'll start from the beginning. I'm from here. Actually, I grew up here, not too far away from here, just down the road. I had a really good upbringing here. Had an awesome childhood. I have an older brother, a younger sister that came along. I have my same parents. They're still married today, and I had a very, very good life here. Growing up, I lived here for 21 years, and I had nothing happen during my childhood that would be significant for anything to happen to me later on. My older brother and myself were very involved in sport here down the coast, and it was I think from the get-go, from right in the beginning, I've always felt a lot of pressure to meet up to his standard because he was so good. So I always wanted to try and beat him, be better than him. Obviously, he's older, so that's how I was during the whole of mainly primary school. And I got a lot of attention for it because I was good at sports. I loved that affirmation. And I remember whenever I didn't do well, I would want to give up. I wouldn't want to commit to this any longer. And that's a big thing, because when things get hard, I just gave up. I could never commit to anything unless I was winning or doing well at something. And like I said, there was nothing out of the ordinary. My parents have always provided for us in every way possible. I went through many years of blaming them for being the way I am. But that's not the case today. But my problems were all, literally, every problem that I've had was created by myself, and I only had myself to blame. But I didn't see that at the time for a very long time. I carried on, and I remember I went to a high school here, and suddenly there wasn't that feeling of being like on top anymore. There was a little person in this big place, and I didn't do as well as I'd wanted to do. And I was a very quiet, I was a bit of an introvert. I was quiet. I didn't really speak to a lot of people. I was sort of mutually friends with everybody. I didn't see myself as a popular person. And I think when I got to one of the biggest things for me, when I was later on in high school, I'd always been in relationships with girls, and I never had a problem with that. And for the first time, I think it was in the 10th grade, 11th grade, I'd come across rejection. And for me, that was a whole new thing for me. I never knew what that was, because I'd never had any rejection before. And because that happened to me, it started this spiral of just bad behavior for the next 12 years of my life. I later found out that I resented women, and I never believed it. I was in a lot of denial about that. I never treated people the way they should be treated. I always acted on selfish behavior, and in the process, hurt a lot of people along the way. In doing so, I don't even remember. I remember the first time I had a drink. Being from a little town here, I think it's quite common. Like everyone knowing how it is here now. Like it seems like everyone's either in recovery or they're not on the other side. And the first time I got drunk, I don't even remember most of it because I drank too much. I think it was here in Park Rennie when I was about 16. And that wasn't a wow moment for me. I didn't feel anything in particular. It was just a normal, I felt very sick the next day. I thought I wouldn't do it again, but it wasn't a significant part. I didn't have a wow moment with it. I didn't feel any different. I carried on with school, and I finished school here, and then I took a gap after school. I studied for a while. I never completed. Again, not able to commit to something because I found it too difficult. And I went over to America for 6 months for one of these working holidays. And even there, like, I never battled with anything. I was always provided for. It was always growing up. It was always easy to pick up the phone or send a message, and I had cash on disposal from my father. And that's also a pattern that I carried on with for many years. It was very easy to manipulate and lie about the situations that I was in, even if they were good or bad. It wouldn't matter. It was easy for me to do that, so I abused that for the longest time. And while I was overseas, I'd met a girl, and I came back a bit earlier because I had gotten a job down here. They offered a permanent position here, and I thought it was a good idea to bring this person back with me. And I never really think about the things I did before. I always just acted on my own will and did whatever I wanted to do. I never thought of what my parents would think about it or anybody else. And I did that, and I had this person here from another country, and it was all mad. I never knew. I didn't know. There was nothing to it. I didn't know what I was doing or anything. I thought it was cool. I liked the attention that I got from other people for having this person here. And in the process, when that person had to go, I was absolutely heartless about it. I didn't care about it. I was incapable of loving anybody. And then later on, I carried on and I stayed here. And even then, I drank what I thought was like normal people. Every weekend I didn't drink by myself or alone or anything like that. I went out, and I thought it was normal to get wasted on the weekends with my friends. And then, I think it was in 2009, I met a girl online, and within 3 months I had moved to Cape Town. And I moved there, not knowing anybody, just her. Had no job, nothing. Again, very easy to just ask my father. He always wanted to provide for me, and he literally paid for everything. I was about 21 at the time, and I think I was there for about 3 weeks or about a month or so, and I eventually found a job, and that I didn't see the girlfriend at the time for very long, so I had made friends at my work, and that's when other things started. My drinking progressed, and I started doing other things. I started using drugs with these people, and I did it to fit in, because I didn't really have any friends there or anything. And that's how it started. I wanted to fit in with everybody. I wanted to be a part of the crowd, and little did I know what I was getting myself into. And that I spent 5 years there. it's a lot of it is a big blur because of all the things that happened during that time. I think it was from when I was about 21 to 26. I got involved in using and that with these guys, and then eventually, because of my behavior towards women and everybody else, I sat with a lot of guilt and shame that I didn't know how to handle. So I would isolate myself from everything. I would sit in my room alone, drinking, using. That's where I was comfortable, and I did that until I came into recovery. Like, I was so fearful of everything around me that was my safe place. Like, that's all I would do for the longest time. Occasionally go out, but not feel comfortable. All I wanted to do was go home and do my thing at home. That's all I wanted to do. And during this time, I'd always considered myself to be a nice person, a good person. I come from a good home. My parents, they raised me well. I was very delusional as to what I thought was the way I was. After I think 4 years or so, the girlfriend I had at the time, she eventually left me, to my surprise at the time, not knowing what I had done. I could never remain faithful to anybody. I ripped through people's lives and just didn't consider anything but my own selfish motives. And I started getting into trouble at work, being late and absent and stuff because of my drinking and using. I'd be up all night and not really being able to function at all. And I did that for so many years. And eventually the consequences started coming of getting in trouble, getting written warnings, all those sort of things. So, and the other thing is that I never, because of what I was doing was so expensive, I've never had a good job where we paid very well. So it was like I said, it was always easy for me to just pick up the phone and I had money. That was as easy as that. And eventually it got too much, and I thought I was being responsible by owning this stuff to my father. And obviously he was very concerned, and he's like, no, you must go to treatment, this and that. And I agreed to do it because I think it was more of a manipulation than anything else, because I didn't want to go to treatment, but I knew if I go in there, then he would feel sorry for me. It was crazy. So I went into a treatment center in Cape Town. It was one of those lovely little 3-week programs, and it was also very difficult for me. In some ways, it was very similar to the treatment center I went to here on the hill, but not really, not to the degree. And I wasn't ready to do it. I wasn't willing to give up or stop fighting, and I caused myself a lot more pain even there. And it was all for the wrong reasons. I was dating another girl at the time. She left me while I was there. I did it to keep the job and to keep people off me, to try and keep my parents happy. I also forgot that throughout this time, even when I moved away to Cape Town and that, I never had a very good relationship with my mother. We never saw eye to eye. Now seeing it, she always wanted what was best for me, but at the time, because of how I am, I only saw her as a person that would get in the way of things. She's a very quiet person, and she only tried to love me in the way that she knew how, but it was not the way that I understood it, or I didn't know it. I wasn't capable of seeing it. And that was also a big, massive resentment of mine. I don't even remember ever having a conversation with this lady properly during my teen years. And yeah, it's hard to speak about, but yeah, it was very difficult for me. Yeah, anyway, I came out of treatment 3 weeks later, and I think I lasted about 6 hours, and I was already drinking, carrying on. And I carried on for, I think, eventually, like within 3 months after that, my father had had enough of me, and he's like, no, you must come home. So I literally packed up what I could into my car, and I left there. I left a townhouse that my father had bought me, and left all my other belongings in there, and just left it for him to sort out. I didn't really care about it. And I came back here, and I thought I would be okay because I was leaving that place. I thought it would be different here because I'm from here. I'm familiar here with this place, and everything would be alright. And it didn't take long. I mean, I think I'd been back here for about 2 weeks, and I'd found a job in Durban, and I'd been traveling up and down. And before I knew it, I found the stuff I was looking for. I was drinking even more. I was just carrying on. It was very easy, and again, there were no consequences to it. I'd always I hid a lot of the stuff. Like my parents never knew the severity of what was going on, and during the time as well, like I didn't have a lot of friends left here either, even in this town or in Durban, and it was difficult because I moved into a place in Durban as well, and I did the same thing. I just stayed in a room. Like it was this dark place I stayed in for the longest amount of time, and before I knew it, years went on, and I didn't know that was the most comfortable thing for me, and that's how I carried on. Eventually, like I got another job, and it's actually still the job I'm at today, and there's a few people there that are in this fellowship, and I didn't know it at the time, but they could see what was wrong, and I disappeared from this workplace a couple of times, and when I came back for the first time, my father had asked me to go into treatment, and I didn't want to go back because he wanted me to go into the house on the hill here, and what kept me away was that whole 3-month thing. I thought, no, there's no way how I'm going to survive 3 months away from everything. And I delayed it for a whole another year until life got so unmanageable I couldn't carry on at work anymore. I just disappeared from there again. Less than a year later, I think it was like 8 months, 9 months later. And I had all these crazy ideas. I was going to run away. I was going to move to New Zealand. I was going to do all this stuff. And then I was just trying to avoid myself, ultimately. And eventually, I got to a point where I was so tired of being and feeling this way. I said this before, but I don't think it was like alcohol or drugs that brought me down. It was that feeling inside that I had. Like it was just nothing. It was just a black hole, basically. And I came. I think it was. I came to the doctor's rooms here, and I wanted to get another sick note for work because I was off like at least once, about 3-4 times a month. And that was my thing. I'd go to a doctor and just get a note. It was easy enough to do. And I'd asked him for some sleeping pills as well, just to try and counter what I was doing, to try and get some sleep so that I could function the next day. And he denied me that. He said, no, I'm not giving you anything. You need to go to treatment. So I think I was driving home here, and something inside me just gave up. And I went home and I said to my father, you know what, I'll go. And I delayed it for like another week, and eventually I came in, and that was last year, beginning of October last year. And I came in there, and there were a lot of people that wanted to hit me with that joke, that one, how long are you staying here for? 3 weeks, 3 months, and I was willing to do 3 months. But even when I got in there, I wasn't ready to accept things. Like I didn't understand the stuff. I'd never done the 12 steps before. And the other treatment center, we didn't do the steps there. I think we did step 1. really remember. And I came in here, and it was an extremely scary place. Like, I avoided preambles and meetings. I was way too scared to pick up one of those and read. I avoided a lot of people. I barely opened my mouth for a couple of weeks. But I knew that there was something that told me I needed to be there. And it took time, but I remember being there for about a week or two, and I found out that you could go home after your step 5. So I rushed through the steps to try this. I just wanted to go out for a weekend. And then I got to, after your step 3, you do your life story. And that was, for me, like, just this whole other thing. I remember I did it, I had to do it twice. And I'm grateful that I did do it twice. Because that knocked the denial out of me, like, you cannot believe. I did my first one, and I couldn't own my part. Like, I wasn't capable of seeing the things that I had done. It was just everybody else was to blame for the way I am, and that was it. And then I got told to do it again, and I remember being extremely angry about it. I got called out for being angry, and there was all this other stuff that went on. And it was during one of those love groups, and that I think that was like a turning point for me. It was one of those groups, and I didn't get concerned a lot there or anything. After that, my behavior changed. I feel drastically, because I knew what I'd done. I could see what I'd done, and I had to change. And I struggled there a lot with it, because I didn't think I'd be able to get this program because of the whole God concept. Because growing up here, I never went to church, or I never did all these things. And the only time I would pray to God was when I was in, or whatever it was, when I was in trouble, or when I was in so much pain. Like, I would literally pray, like, please just end this. I didn't want to feel this way anymore. And I didn't think I'd get this program because of that. And I was always told, my sponsor at the time, he said, no, you just keep it simple. At the time I'd made it my sponsor, as the high power thing, and that worked for me. But as time went on, like, it's changed a bit. Like, now I still tend to overcomplicate it. And I wish I'd had this specific thing, but I think I've heard a lot of other people share that it changes over the years, and now I just make it the group. As long as I'm listening and I get the message, then that's something. And also through people, being honest with people and saying what's going on, I get a message from that. And then what had happened is I done my life story second time, and then everything just came out. And like, that for me was a very freeing experience, as well as doing step 4 and 5 and writing all that stuff down. It was actually, for after the life story, I think I found everything pretty easy, because there was just nothing left. I did what I was told. I asked what I needed to do. I'd given up. Like, you tell me what to do, and in doing so, like, I think that's why everything's just worked out. I stayed in treatment for the extra month. I was told to stay another month. Apparently it was because my leaving date was on the end of December. No, it's not safe to go out, New Year. I was told to stay another month. And I did it, doing so I did it. And then I went and I'd run away from my job, like I said, and I spoke to my sponsor at the time, and he said, no, you can go see if you can get your job back, but don't go there with the expectation of thinking that you're going to get it back. And I was willing to do that and to let it go if I did it. And I called a meeting, and I drove to Durban while I was still in treatment, and I went to this place, and I sat with the manager and the 2 directors, and I said to them, I apologized for what I had done. my absence, my behavior, and they had obviously had a little pre-discussion before this, and they said they were quite blown back that I had apologized, and they said, well, you don't want to work here again. I said, I'd love to be working, and they told me, like, there's a lot of people here that don't like you. So I went back to work there, and it was quite difficult, but I carried on, and I did the same thing I was taught here in these rooms and in treatment. I went to meetings. I didn't do a 90-90, but I did 5 meetings a week. I had service positions at pretty much every meeting that I had during this time that I lived here afterwards. I got to work on time. I did all those things. It was more this year for me. I knew was more about taking responsibility, just being where I'm going to say I'm going to be, and doing those things. And for me, it really wasn't difficult because I knew what I had to do, and I knew I didn't want to go back to that way, so I did this. This is the way I chose, and it just worked out. And I think of this year and all that's gone on. I'm 28 now. 3 months ago, I was traveling to Westville every day, and I drive for work, so it was a bit mad, all the driving I had to do. And I quite desperately wanted to move to Durban again, but I knew I couldn't, because my whole life wherever I've gone, I've never paid rent. I've never done all those things. My father always did them for me, and 3 months ago, I got a place and I'm paying for the rent for it. For me, that's massive. I don't have to ask for money for any things anymore. I pay for my own stuff. I feel like I'm living for once. And this year's been really cool because I think about all the friends that I have now today. Like Rich is not my sponsor, but he was there from the beginning, like from when I first went into treatment. And I have a lot of people, even in this room today, that are really good friends of mine. And that's a gift as it is. There's been a lot that's happened, and the year's just gone so quickly because I've been so busy. I've been working hard, and the things that today that I find that I struggle with are the things that I want more than what I need. I've been at this place for 2.5, 3 years now, and not in total, but over that time, and I've had the same salary. And like the way my mind thinks, it's like, well, I've been there now for 9 months now at this place. I work my butt off. Pay me more. That's how I think, and it's because I feel I've always been so entitled to things. I feel like I deserve them, and I've had to really humble myself. And there's a lot of situations that I go through where I want to withdraw, and I want to do that thing where I just disappear. But instead now, I'll message and call my friends, and I'll call my sponsor and talk to them about it, and they tell me what to do, and then I go and do that. Even if I don't want to do it, I do that, and there's a way of working out. And there's just so much that's happened this year. I got into a relationship a little while ago. Not to say the 1-year rule didn't apply to me. It was more about there was someone that I liked, and the first thing I did was speak to my sponsor about it. I did the things I was taught to do, and I've never been so, maybe I'm a little too honest sometimes, but I've never been so honest with someone and everybody around me that's a whole other experience I've never had before. I've never been honest with anybody about anything, really. And I think in me doing that, and doing that with everybody else, not just people in the rooms, but everyone else seems to have a way of getting honest with you. Maybe not now, maybe not later, but it makes them feel a bit more comfortable. And the other things, I try and live by is getting on my knees in the morning and praying to whatever it is that I pray to. I have that choice today. I can choose to do this, or I can choose not to. It's about making that choice every single day, and never being never. It's not just about helping people within the rooms. It's about helping. I can help anybody. Even if it's just listening or doing things. And it's a lot of it is part of my work. Like I'm in IT, but I don't just fix things or sort things out. Like I help people as well because it's stuff that they're working on. And I've formed new relationships even with the clients that I have. And in doing so, like I've spoken to people and telling them who I am. I don't go around telling people, oh, I'm an alcoholic. It goes into conversation and I have a whole other amount of friends now that are clients that are also struggling with problems, and they ask me things now. Whenever I go to them, we have conversations about this stuff, and that's also really cool because I've never done that stuff before. And that's pretty much. I mean, it's only been a year, It hasn't been that long, and. Think of all the gifts that I have today, like especially the relationship I have with my family. I come down the coast here every week, usually on the weekends, Saturday or Sunday, to visit my parents. My father still tries to offer me things. I say no. He still wants to try and help me for some weird reason. After all that term, he still tries, but like I've managed to find my own way, like to make those amends, and that's a lifelong amends, just to keep doing this, and like I think it was last week, he had messaged me and he had said that he's proud, like that was. Quite emotional for me to deal with. It was really cool. And yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to waffle on. So thanks.